Hazard pay, grants, free money. It's all heating up from CARES Act 1, second stimulus, and soon third stimulus. The question is, where can you get it, how much, and how does it apply to you? All those questions are answered, and none of them are impacted by the presidential election today. So let's get to it. Let's get that money, and let's watch this afternoon's recording of Purple. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is this afternoon's recording of Purple. In this video, I'll be going over big news about grants, hazard pay, and other free money that is out there for you to get, is coming, and will be also coming in a third stimulus package. All that and more. If you've not, go to the front channel, subscribe, because we're going to get through this together, and because today I'm changing up the lineup of programming. More about that in a second. Also, like this video. It really helps in the algorithm. Earlier today, we were ranking 1, 3, 5, and 7, so we're doing a great job. Let me explain to you what's happening today. On today's programming schedule, I will be delivering Check, which was right before this video Purple, and then after this, McConnell versus Trump, which will be merged with later recordings on content. After that, I'm going off the normal programming schedule. There will be no street and stimulus. There will be no evenings LALATE, and there will be no Purple Power. Rather, what I'll be doing is I will have 2 cameras on set. On set, I will have a live stream that'll keep you up to date by the minute of any election results. Then, when an election result is announced, for example, a Kansas Senate race is declared with a victory, with a winner, I will also record during the live stream that taped recording. It will be short. It'll say Kansas has announced a winner, his or her name is, the margin of victory is, and what does this mean for the Senate? And then I will record that and release that taped video, and then come back on set and continue the live taping. That's the excitement we're going to do this afternoon. And we had a sort of a test run this morning, and people really loved it. I mean, it was almost 20,000 views in just a few minutes. So absolutely categorically incredible. Today, there's big developments on hazard pay. And this is hazard pay from both a state level, private level, and local level. I want to go over that for you. There's also hazard pay grants in the upcoming second stimulus, and also the issue of the third stimulus. All right, let's go over it. What's important for you to understand if you're new to this channel is that hazard pay has a lot of different names to it. And sometimes people presume that it's going to be called hazard pay, and they look for those words, and then they don't see them. They're like, oh, there is none. No, sometimes it's called something else. Hazard pay is a term that dates back from the 1920s that was used to describe hazardous work environments. But over time, private employers have called it bonus pay because they don't want to call their place hazardous. I mean, how's my hazardous boss in my hazardous workplace? No, we don't call ourselves hazardous. We call ourselves bonus and very safe. So they call it a lot of different words and where you are. Currently, before second stimulus passes, there's a lot of different grants out there. Let me explain to you where they are and how you find them. First, there is $150 billion of CARES Act 1 money that was allocated to states, and states now have to use it or lose it. And what those states do is they take the money and they either, 1, announce programs on a state level, or 2, they send it out to the city and county, and those cities and counties then use the money. What I'm going to give you an example in a second is a county in Delaware that is dealing with its hazard pay. And then I'm going to deal with another example at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, in which they're talking about hazard pay on a private level. So when we talk about CARES Act 1 money, that grant is out there. Those grants have been issued for a lot of different reasons and a lot of different purposes. The types of grants that are out there are 1, just normal stimulus check grants, 2, hazard pay-ish grants for people who worked during the pandemic or are working during the pandemic as an essential worker. And in some cases, the essential worker is narrowly defined. Sometimes it's broadly defined. Third, there are grants for rent. Fourth, there's grants for food. Fifth, there are grants for seniors and children. And generally, they're just other types of grants. And what's important for you to do is you need to go on Google News, not Google Web, but Google News, and look for the grants. You look for your city plus grant, your county plus grant, your state plus grant, and they announce it. What I did for today's recording, for example, what I did was I typed in hazard pay into Google News to see what articles came out in the last few days. One in Delaware and one in Tennessee. Did I say Texas before? Tennessee, my mistake. And those were just newly announced. So that's how things are just coming out very quickly. Then there is private hazard pay, what you would also often call bonus pay. There's two types of those that are paid out there. They are paid in a non-unionized environment and a unionized environment. Examples of non-unionized environments are Amazon, Walmart, and some of the big box retailers that have done an enormous bonzo amount of money during these pandemics can afford to pay hazard pay or bonus pay, and they're doing it, and includes Lowe's as well. And so you need to make sure you're on high alert that that they have all your information. If you work there part-time, full-time, overtime, anytime, they're giving that money out. It's also a reason why to work at those places. So if you need a job and you see the pandemic rolling around and you're worried about lockdowns, note to self, go work at those places because they don't close during a lockdown. I don't know if that's sort of obvious. I haven't said that on camera, but I would presume people don't know that. If your job is facing a lockdown because it's not an essential workplace and you want a job, go work at Lowe's or Home Depot because they don't close in a lockdown and they pay bonus pay. Pretty obvious, huh? And it's fun. I would like to work at Lowe's. Or Home Depot. It's generally a fun place. So, and you get hazard pay. There's no dispute about it. Now let's talk about the unionized work environment. Those are the grocery stores. And a lot of people are having problems with the grocery stores. A lot of the grocery stores, which paid bonus pay in the spring when the pandemic hit, now they don't have the foot traffic they had before. They don't have people outside the store in a line, 2 blocks long. They barely have 20 people in the store buying stuff. And so now they don't want to pay hazard pay, even though the pandemic is raging and you see 8% infection rate in your city, or 10% infection rate. And as COVID-19 cases may increase in your city, they're still not paying it. And that's why you need to be in line with the unions, because the unions are helping getting this hazard pay as well. Okay, so then it brings you up to the proposed legislation. Let me go over the proposed legislation. This is not stuff that's passed yet. The second stimulus package has a lot of good grants in there, and let me go over as many as I can in this recording. First, there's the $50,000 Lifeline grant. Yes, $50,000. I'm gonna qualify it. You only qualify it. The way it's written says the less of your cost of goods sold, or $50,000, the less. So whichever's less. So pull out your 2019 tax return and look at line 2. It'll say cost of goods sold. If you put 0, guess what? You get 0. That's the less of 50,000 and 0. But if you're a person who, does stuff and has a regular operation and has, $12,000 of cost of goods sold, great. You're going to get $12,000. I mean, it's more than EIDL grant the first time around. Then the EIDL grant, of course, is coming back. The question is whether it's coming back with Jovita Carranza. I haven't said this on camera, but I assume you get this. Sometimes I don't realize if some things are obvious or not. If Trump is not reelected, Jovita Carranza's gone. I'm gonna have some celebration on camera if she's gone. Oh my God. You're gonna see me writing bills from here to Kingdom Come to get everyone their retroactive $10,000 grants that she withheld and everything that she withheld. She's just... Anyway, if Donald Trump is gone, then Joe Biden will be putting a new person in SBA come February. Yeah, I'm not going there. Thank you. Don't nominate me. I'm not going to live in Washington, D.C. I can't stand the heat. But I appreciate the compliments. Everyone always says, you should be head of SBA. Yeah, okay. There's that. Then there is the CDC grant. The CDC grant is in the CARES Act 2. Actually, be in the second stimulus package. It's not quite clear how much money, but it's really good. It's free money. And it's for frontline workers, and it's for essential workers, and the definition looks pretty broad. It's not W-2 versus 1099s. It's just generally everyone. That's all really, really good. Then there's another grant, and the other grant is Steve Mnuchin's proposal that the $300 billion for state and local is only used for cities and counties or states to pay their first responders, their public civil servants like fire, first responders, ambulances, and things like that, and that they can't use the money for anything else. So that is a form of hazard pay, but it's not for all essential workers. Basically, you know, if you're an Uber Lyft driver, you can't look to your state to give you money. They're going to give it to the cops and the firemen. But it's really good. And then there's everything else. There's EIDL loan, PPP loan, Main Street lending loan, all these great things which generally do not contradict. PPP is one of the few things that says you can't get this and you can't get that. So you see, I forgot there's more grants. There's rent grant, there's rent grant, there's food grant, and I'm sure there's another grant I left out. But that's all really good. Now, the third stimulus package. How many grants are in there? 0. How long is the third stimulus package bill? It doesn't exist. That's why there's 0 in there. It literally has not been written. Every time I say this, I can't believe I'm saying this. The second stimulus package is a 3,000-page document. The Temple of Doom said she had not written anything for Steve Mnuchin because they're legislators and they move really slowly. Well, I mean, this is, let me look at my watch. Let me look at my watch. This is November. By that speed, I think the bill will be written by, November of next year. Get writing. What are you doing? I mean, what are you doing? Watching old reruns of Falcon Crest to come up with a new scandal to do tomorrow? Just go write the bill. This is what Wall Street's very anxious about, that there is no third stimulus package bill written because all these provisions expire. They all expire in just a few weeks, and there's no bill out there. So that's what's concerning. Let me turn to 2 examples about hazard pay, and this is really important for you to grasp what's going on right now. In a county in Delaware, earlier this year, they approved a hazard pay bill. Ooh, wonderful. Full-time first responders would get $10,000. Lord, that's the same amount as the one we're talking about in the federal government. However, the measure did not pass due to council members' concern that the bonuses were not considered an acceptable use of CARES Act fund money. Yeah, they are. Okay, so then how did this turn? The ordinance is silent as to how hazard pay will be calculated. The council must clarify its intent with supplemental legislation on the questions. The bottom line is that 6 months after they approved $10,000 to be paid to all police officers, paramedic, firefighters, and first responders who put him or herself in harm's way, said the local official, County Executive Meyer, no one has gotten paid. 6 months after they passed it, no one has gotten paid because it appears that some legislators say, I don't think we can use the money this way. They actually have the bill as a law. It has been signed. They have the bank account and they're ready to send out the money, and someone's blocking the money to go out. You see the problems we're dealing with? Then at University of Tennessee at Knoxville, they're asking for hazard pay and a 15-minute minimum hourly wage for those working through the pandemic. What's at issue is that they're concerned about people who are really working at full capacity and not getting paid additional money. Hazard pay would mean an additional $2.50 per hour. Sometimes I have to take my own precautions into myself. I'd like to continue working, but we can't in the conditions we are in. We're overworked and underpaid, said a person for a news article locally. So there you go. Big pushes to get hazard pay approved, but a lot of local jurisdictions are just so slow in doing it. And then there's a concern of COVID-19 cases increasing. If COVID-19 cases increase, some businesses may not pay hazard pay because they aren't making additional money because they don't see more people coming into the stores. Remember, the first time around, the grocery stores had these massive swarms of people in there so they could afford to pay hazard pay. Now, if the new swarm of the pandemic hits and you don't see that type of mass business, that enormous surge in business in grocery stores, they may not pay hazard pay on a private level and then yet require their employees to do as much work as they did during a non-hazardous environment. Let me go over some questions and comments. Liz Keith, keep the faith, Purple Power. Betty Black, Purple Power Eaters. Connie Way, go to Wall Street and Purple Power for pushing for executive orders and stimulus checks and benefits. Kiana, I hope we don't get locked down. We're losing a lot of restaurants with no money. We can't support them. Julia, this statement is so right. I would love to see $20,000 or $3,000, excuse me, $2,000 or $3,000 stimulus checks in my bank soon after waiting so long. Crystal, we need it before we're out on the streets. Barbara, President Trump had the money. He could have done executive order. Oh, yes, money was there. He could have done it. Heather, he hasn't. Yesterday, I saw 6 people on the street. Alfred. Pelosi's nephew gave himself a raise. Lauren North. As much pushing being done. Deanna Henke. We need our stimulus checks right now. You do. If you have questions in today's video, drop them in the comments below, and I might feature them in tomorrow's recording. Go to the friend's channel, subscribe so you don't miss a new video, and you don't miss any breaking developments on this channel today. Also, like this video. Coming up next is McConnell versus Trump. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and save LA.